Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the life of a woman who defied expectations, shocked a nation, and became a legend, all with a snake on her shoulders and fire in her soul. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss stories like this. In the heart of 1950s Malaya, a society still finding its voice between colonial rule and independence, a woman did the unthinkable. She took the stage not as a singer, not as an actress, but as a striptease artist. Her name? Rose Chan. At a time when women were expected to marry young, stay quiet, and remain in the background, Rose Chan didn't just step into the spotlight. She lit it on fire. Born in Suzhou, China in 1925, Chan Wai Chong arrived in British Malaya with her family during a time of great upheaval. Her father passed away when she was still young, leaving her mother to raise the children alone. They settled in Penang, scraping by with whatever odd jobs they could find. Rose worked in sweatshops, sewing buttons for hours on end, her fingers calloused long before she turned 16. At just 16, she entered an arranged marriage, which she soon abandoned. It wasn't freedom yet, but it was a start. She then turned to dance. Graceful and determined, she quickly rose through the ranks of competitive ballroom dancing in Singapore. She won multiple local titles and even finished as runner-up in a regional beauty pageant. It wasn't just her looks. It was the way she moved, the way she carried herself, as if she knew she was destined for more. Then came 1952. During a burlesque routine in Ipoh, her bra strap snapped mid-performance. Instead of fleeing in shame, she smiled and kept dancing. The crowd went wild. That spontaneous moment of boldness sparked something new. Rose realized she could own her sexuality, not as something shameful, but as a form of expression and power. She leaned into it, and the legend began. Her shows soon became the stuff of whispered gossip and roaring applause. She performed with live pythons draped across her shoulders. She invited motorcycles to ride over her as she lay on a bed of nails. She bent steel rods with her throat, danced on broken glass, and once bit into a live chicken for a publicity stunt. It wasn't just eroticism. It was rebellion, endurance, spectacle. To many, she was scandalous. To many more, she was a revelation. While religious groups picketed her shows and colonial authorities tried to shut her down, Rose kept performing. Some nights, she danced for thousands. She was more than a performer, she was a pioneer. Rose founded and managed her own traveling revue. She was one of the first in Southeast Asia to openly include transgender performers. She choreographed routines, negotiated venue deals, hired the crew, and ran the books. Long before personal branding was a concept, Rose was marketing herself with posters, press stunts, and touring circuits across the region. She built an empire in high heels. And behind all that spectacle, a quiet heart. Rose donated generously to orphanages, homes for the elderly and the disabled. She performed for free at charity events and never sought the spotlight for her good deeds. She became a quiet symbol of feminist agency in Malaysia long before feminism was a conversation. She controlled her image. She defied the men who tried to exploit her. And she never apologized for who she was. Even as Malaysia's cultural climate grew more conservative in the 1960s and 70s, Rose stood tall. In 1967, Kuala Lumpur banned her performances. She was even arrested in Australia during a tour, though the charges were eventually dropped. She retired in 1976, retreating to a modest life in Butterworth. No more spotlights, no more headlines, just her animals, and a life lived on her own terms. Her wealth was gone, but she never complained. She had already lived 100 lives in one. In 1987, Rose Chan passed away after a battle with cancer. At her funeral, many of her critics stayed silent. But her fans, her friends, and fellow performers remembered her as a legend, a trailblazer. a woman who made space for herself where there was none. Her biography, No Bed of Roses, captures both the glamour and the grit she lived through. Since her death, she's been remembered in books, exhibitions, documentaries, and plays. But somehow her name still isn't widely known, not in the way it should be. In today's Malaysia, where gender, identity, and performance are still debated, Rose Chan's story feels both distant and urgently relevant. She wasn't just a dancer. She was a rebel who gave more than she ever took. A businesswoman who bent steel with her throat and bent the rules with her presence. A woman who loved deeply, lived defiantly, and never asked permission. Her life reminds us that history doesn't only belong to politicians or war heroes. Sometimes it belongs to a woman with a snake on her shoulders, a spotlight in her eyes, and fire in her soul. The woman who dared. Thanks for watching. If you found this story moving, consider subscribing and dropping a super thanks. And if you like stories of women who defied the odds, wait till you hear about the pirate queen who ruled the South China Sea. That's coming next. See you in the next one.